Ancient ships are sleeping on the ocean floor, holding secrets for 2,000 years. A new hunt is about to begin for these sunken Roman vessels, a mission that could completely reshape everything we know about the ancient world. By the end of this, you will understand how this single search could rewrite history books, what hidden truths lie buried in the deep, and what forgotten stories will finally surface. What forgotten chapter of history would you most want to see recovered from the sea? These sunken vessels are far more than just broken wood on the seabed. They are perfectly preserved time capsules, sealed for centuries under layers of sand and salt water. When a Roman trading ship sank, its entire cargo was frozen in a single moment. We are not just finding amphorae, those distinctive two-handled jars. We are discovering the contents inside, from Italian wine and Spanish olive oil to precious garum fish sauce, each container telling a story of daily life and long-distance commerce. But the real treasure is the personal glimpse these wrecks provide. A single ship might carry a soldier's pay, a merchant's ledgers etched on wax tablets, or a family's fine glassware being transported to a new province. This is not just about recovering objects. It is about recovering the mundane, beautiful details of an entire civilization. Each artifact is a direct line to the people who used it, revealing their tastes, their business, and their technological skill. The construction of the ships themselves is a marvel. Roman shipwrights were master engineers, and their hull designs tell us how they conquered the Mediterranean. Finding a complete wreck is like finding a lost blueprint for their maritime empire. So when we ask what we might learn from this new search, the answer is everything. We are piecing together the economic engine that powered Rome, the social connections that bound its vast territories, and the forgotten stories of the people who sailed these ships. What everyday object from your life would you want future archaeologists to find, to understand your world? To truly grasp the significance of these sunken ships, you must first understand the sheer scale of the Roman Sea. The Mediterranean was not a barrier for them. It was a sprawling, liquid highway, the lifeblood of an empire. This was a world utterly dependent on the sea. Every single day, massive grain ships, heavily laden with Egyptian wheat, sailed toward the city of Rome. Their cargo was nothing less than the city's survival, the daily bread for its million inhabitants. From the coast of North Africa came olive oil, shipped in vast quantities in sturdy amphorae. From Spain came metals, from the eastern provinces came spices, glass, and exotic goods. This constant, bustling traffic was matched by the presence of the Roman navy, their swift Liburnian galleys patrolling the coasts to protect these vital routes from pirates. But the sea is an unforgiving partner. Storms, treacherous coastlines, and simple human error meant that shipwrecks were a regular, almost expected, cost of doing business. This is why the seabed now holds such incredible promise. The very routes that were the empire's greatest strength have become our most fertile hunting grounds. Places like the Strait of Sicily, a narrow choke point on the way to Rome, are littered with wrecks. The coasts of southern France and Sardinia, once major stopping points, are another treasure trove. Each of these hotspots represents a moment frozen in time, a snapshot of the immense network that fed, funded, and connected the ancient world. What would it have been like to stand on a Roman dock watching this endless parade of ships, each one a testament to the empire's reach? The Mediterranean floor already holds stunning proof of what these wrecks can reveal. Off the coast of Tunisia lies the Mahdia Shipwreck, a vessel that sank over 2,000 years ago. When divers first explored it, they found a cargo that completely reshaped our understanding of Roman taste. The hold was packed not with common goods, but with priceless Greek marble statues and exquisite bronze works of art. This was not a simple trading ship. It was essentially a floating museum, transporting looted masterpieces from Greece to the homes of wealthy Romans. This single wreck provided undeniable evidence of the Roman passion for Greek culture, showing how art was a commodity shipped across the sea to display power and sophistication. Further west, near the French town of Port Vendors, another wreck told a very different but equally vital story. Its cargo was a mountain of amphorae, all carefully stacked and sealed. Chemical analysis of the residue inside revealed they carried a prized fish sauce called garum, a pungent, fermented condiment the Romans used like we use ketchup today. This find gave us a direct link to the Roman palate, to the flavors they enjoyed, and the industries they built around them. Each of these discoveries, from grand sculptures to everyday condiments, demonstrates the incredible range of history preserved beneath the waves. They prove that every new wreck has the potential to illuminate a different facet of Roman life, from the highest forms of art to the most basic elements of the kitchen. These past successes are precisely what fuels the current excitement. If we have already found such diverse and enlightening treasures, what else is down there waiting in the dark to tell us its story? The silent, dark world of the seabed has always been archaeology's final frontier, a place where traditional methods fail, but that is changing right now thanks to a suite of technologies that act as our eyes and hands in the deep. This new hunt for Roman ships is powered by machines that can see through pitch-black water and map the ocean floor in stunning detail. It begins with wide-area surveys. Autonomous underwater vehicles, or UVS, are essentially underwater drones. They are programmed to fly precise, grid-like patterns over vast stretches of the seabed, completely independent of a mothership. As they glide silently through the water, they use multi-beam sonar systems. Think of this as a sophisticated echolocation. The UV sends out hundreds of tightly focused sound beams that fan out and strike the seafloor. By measuring the precise time it takes for each sound wave to bounce back, the system builds a breathtakingly detailed, three-dimensional map of the bottom. It can reveal the subtle outline of a buried hull or the distinct mound of an amphora pile, all without ever touching a single artifact, but sonar only shows us the shape of the landscape. To find objects buried under layers of sand and silt, archaeologists turn to another incredible tool, the magnetometer. This device is towed behind a research vessel and measures tiny local distortions in the Earth's magnetic field. A Roman shipwreck, even if it is completely covered, is a large collection of metal. From iron nails and anchors to bronze fittings, these metals create a distinct magnetic anomaly. The magnetometer detects this faint signal, pinpointing a potential wreck site that is completely invisible to the naked eye or even to sonar. Once a promising target is identified, the investigation escalates. This is where remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, enter the picture. These are not autonomous. They are connected to the surface ship by a long, flexible cable that transmits power and video signals in real time. An ROV is a robotic explorer equipped with high-definition cameras, powerful lights, and even delicate manipulator arms. An operator on the ship pilots it with the precision of a video game, allowing them to hover just above a potential wreck. They can gently clear away a bit of sediment to confirm the presence of wood or ceramics, and capture crystal-clear footage, all without a single human diver needing to descend. This non-intrusive approach is the golden rule of modern underwater archaeology. It allows us to find, identify, and document these priceless sites while leaving them perfectly preserved for future study. We are no longer just hunters in the deep. We have become ghost-like observers, using robotic senses to finally hear the stories these sunken ships have been waiting 2,000 years to tell. This new technological eyesight is now being directed towards specific, legendary stretches of the Mediterranean. These are the ancient world's equivalent of major highway intersections, places where geography and commerce conspired to create a graveyard of ships. One of the most promising zones is the Strait of Sicily. This narrow passage between Sicily and North Africa was the main superhighway for grain ships carrying Egyptian wheat to Rome. But these waters are notoriously unpredictable, with sudden, violent storms that could easily overwhelm a heavily laden vessel. The seabed here is a vast archive of failed journeys, each wreck a ship that never made it to the hungry capital. Further east, the trade routes encircling Cyprus hold immense potential. The island was a critical hub for the eastern Mediterranean, a place where ships carrying spices, silks, and glass from the Levant would stop before heading west. Its coastline is dotted with natural harbors that offered shelter, but also with hidden reefs and rocky outcrops that posed a constant danger. A shipwreck found here could reveal cargoes from a completely different cultural and economic sphere, telling the story of Rome's connection to the East. Then, there is the coast of Sardinia, with its rich history of metal mining. This island was a vital source of lead, copper, and silver for the empire. Ships departing its shores were often filled with heavy ingots, making them sit low in the water and vulnerable to the fierce mistral winds that whipped through the region. Finally, the narrow and turbulent Strait of Bonifacio, separating Sardinia from Corsica, was another infamous choke point. Roman sailors feared this passage, where strong currents and narrow channels demanded perfect navigation. A single error in judgment here could send a ship and its entire cargo slamming into the cliffs. These are not random search areas. Each one represents a calculated guess based on historical records and geographical reality. They are the places where the Roman maritime machine was under the greatest strain and where the sea most often claimed its price. What forgotten cargo, what story of a final, desperate struggle, is lying in wait beneath these specific, treacherous waves? The hunt for Roman ships extends far beyond the sunny Mediterranean into the cold, murky waters of the north. While the empire's heart beat around the inland sea, its reach stretched all the way to the coast of Britain and the rivers of Germania. These frontier zones present a completely different set of challenges, but the potential rewards are just as staggering. The Romans desperately needed British tin, a vital component for bronze, and they sent their trade ships across the unpredictable English Channel to get it. A wreck discovered in these northern seas would not be carrying amphorae of olive oil or garum. Its cargo would likely be raw materials, perhaps tin ingots or even amber from the Baltic, telling a story of resource extraction on the very edge of the known world. The preservation in these colder, less salty, and often oxygen-poor waters can be even better than in the Mediterranean. Wooden hulls, normally devoured by shipworms in warmer seas, can survive for centuries buried in the silt of a British estuary, offering an unparalleled look at Roman shipbuilding adapted for harsher climate. Even more tantalizing are the inland rivers of Germania, like the Rhine and the Danube. These were not just geographical features, they were the mobile borders of the empire patrolled by the Roman navy. Imagine a fleet of military patrol boats, their decks crowded with soldiers, navigating these unpredictable currents. A sunken Roman barge, preserved in the fresh water of the Rhine, could be a time capsule of military life on the frontier. We might find not just the vessel itself, but the personal equipment of the legionaries on board, their weapons, their armor, and even their pay, frozen in the moment of a sudden accident or a fierce ambush. Finding such a wreck would be like uncovering a lost chapter from a history book, one written not on parchment, but in wood and iron, yet searching here is incredibly difficult. The water is often dark with sediment, reducing visibility to almost zero, and strong currents make it dangerous for both divers and equipment. The very rivers that hid these wrecks for 2 millennia now guard their secrets fiercely. What undiscovered story of a Roman soldier's final patrol lies buried beneath the flowing waters of a German river, waiting for our technology to finally pierce the gloom? A new urgency now drives the search, born from a paradoxical force. The same environmental changes reshaping our world are beginning to unlock the sea's deepest secrets. As global temperatures rise and sea levels creep upward, the delicate balance of the seabed is being disrupted. Powerful storms are becoming more frequent and intense, their churning energy acting like a giant, unseen hand that scours the ocean floor. For centuries, layers of protective sand and silt have entombed ancient wrecks, shielding their wooden hulls and ceramic cargoes from oxygen and the organisms that cause decay. Now, these sediments are being violently shifted. What was buried and preserved for 2,000 years is suddenly being exposed. A ship that slept safely in its dark, anaerobic grave can be laid bare by a single severe storm, its timbers and artifacts suddenly vulnerable. This is a race against a new kind of clock. The moment a wreck is uncovered, its deterioration accelerates rapidly. Exposed wood is attacked by marine borers. Metal fittings begin to corrode at a much faster rate. Even the sun's rays, penetrating the water column, can damage organic materials that were once in total darkness. A site that could have remained intact for another millennium might crumble to nothing within a few short years after its initial exposure. This makes the mission profoundly timely. We are in a unique window where nature itself is doing the initial excavation, revealing targets we never knew existed. Yet every discovery is a potential emergency, a historical treasure that must be documented and understood before it is lost forever. Think of a message in a bottle that washes ashore, only to begin disintegrating in the sun. We must reach it, read it, and preserve its story before the waves reclaim it for good. The hunt is no longer just about curiosity. It has become a vital rescue operation. Uncovering a single Roman shipwreck is a monumental task, one that no single nation or university can accomplish alone. This new era of discovery is fueled by a complex web of international partnerships, a global alliance of experts pooling their resources and knowledge. Leading universities from Italy, the United States, and France contribute their top archaeologists and historians. Government bodies, from national ministries of culture to agencies like America's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, provide critical funding and access to advanced naval research vessels. Then, there are the private sponsors, foundations, and even corporate partners who help bankroll these multi-million-dollar missions. The goal is shared, but the coordination is a diplomatic ballet. Securing permits to explore a nation's territorial waters involves delicate negotiations and a mutual trust that the recovered history will be studied and preserved for all of humanity, not claimed by a single country. The logistical puzzle is staggering. An expedition might involve an American research ship, a Greek underwater archaeology team, Italian cultural heritage monitors, and funding from a German foundation, all working in the waters off the coast of Turkey. Every piece of equipment, from the massive ship to the smallest sensor on a robotic vehicle, must be transported and integrated. The crew itself is a miniature United Nations of science, requiring a common language and a shared passion to overcome the immense technical and environmental challenges. Every day at sea costs a fortune in fuel, supplies, and salaries. This is why these partnerships are not just helpful, they are essential. The hunt for sunken Roman ships has become a testament to what we can achieve when we look beyond borders, uniting in a common quest to recover our collective past. What other lost chapters of history could be revealed if we applied this same spirit of global cooperation on an even wider scale? But this incredible mission to uncover the past is tangled in a complex web of modern rules and fierce ethical debates. The seabed is not a lawless frontier, it is a carefully protected cultural landscape, governed by international agreements designed to prevent the very plundering that has destroyed so many historical sites on land. The cornerstone of this effort is the UNESCO Convention on the Protection of the Underwater Cultural Heritage. This landmark treaty, adopted in 2001, establishes a global standard for how we treat sunken history. Its core principle is simple yet profound. In situ preservation, meaning leaving a wreck exactly where it is found, should always be the first and preferred option. The goal is to protect these fragile time capsules from unnecessary disturbance, preserving them in their original context for future generations of scientists with even better technology. Only when a site is under immediate threat, from things like looters, trawling fishing nets, or the changing climate itself, should a full excavation be considered. This framework turns every potential discovery into a delicate balancing act. Is the wreck safer left in the dark, or is the risk of leaving it there too great? The answer is never simple. This leads directly to one of the most heated conflicts in the field, the clash between academic archaeology and commercial salvage. On one side are treasure hunters, companies that often operate under the law of fines, which can grant ownership to whoever physically recovers an object. Their business model is built on selling recovered artifacts, from gold coins to ancient pottery, to private collectors. While they sometimes partner with archaeologists, their primary motive is profit, and the methods used can be brutally destructive. The famous case of the Spanish galleon Nuestra Señora de Atocha, where millions in gold and emeralds were recovered, showcases the financial allure but also the historical loss. as the context of the artifacts was largely destroyed for the sake of the treasure. On the other side stand academic archaeologists, for whom the true value is not in the object itself, but in the story it tells. They meticulously document the exact position of every single nail, every amphora, every timber. This spatial data is the real treasure, revealing how the ship was loaded, how it was built, and even how it sank. For them, ripping an artifact from the seabed for its market value is like tearing a single beautiful page from a history book and burning the rest. The information lost is irreplaceable. The question of who truly owns these sunken ships adds another layer of complexity. Does a Roman merchant vessel found off the coast of Israel belong to Italy as the successor to the Roman Empire? Does it belong to Israel, in whose waters it rests? Or is it part of the shared heritage of all humanity? These are not theoretical questions. They are the subject of intense diplomatic negotiations and legal battles that can tie up a discovery for years. The UNESCO Convention advocates for a cooperative approach, prioritizing preservation over national pride or financial gain. The ultimate goal is to ensure that these sites are treated not as buried treasure to be claimed, but as fragile, non-renewable resources of immense cultural value. Every time a wreck is commercially salvaged, a unique window into the past is slammed shut forever. But every time a site is carefully excavated and studied by an international team of scholars, that window is thrown wide open, allowing us all to look through and finally understand a little more about our collective human story. The race is not just to find these ships, but to ensure they are handled with the respect and care their 2,000-year slumber deserves. History whispers of one particular maritime disaster that could rewrite everything we know. Ancient chroniclers wrote of a great storm in the Mediterranean, a single monstrous event that swallowed an entire fleet of Roman grain ships. This was not just the loss of a few vessels. It was an economic earthquake. Each of these ships was a floating warehouse, carrying thousands of tons of Egyptian wheat destined for the city of Rome. Their arrival meant the difference between stability and famine for 1 million people. To lose one ship was a tragedy. To lose an entire convoy sailing together for protection was a catastrophe that would have sent shockwaves through the entire empire, causing bread prices to skyrocket and panic to ripple from the docks to the imperial palace itself. The loss of such a fleet would expose a terrifying vulnerability in the very system that kept Rome alive. Finding even one of these wrecks, let alone a cluster of them, would be like discovering the scene of a single, defining moment in Roman history. It would give us an unprecedented snapshot of imperial logistics at their most critical point. How were these ships loaded for such a vital mission? Were they packed to the gunwales with grain sacks, or did they also carry other supplies? The construction of the ships themselves would reveal the compromises made for speed and capacity. Were they built sturdy enough to withstand a storm, or were they rushed and overburdened, pushed to their limits to feed the insatiable capital? The wreckage could hold the answer to why they failed. Most importantly, a fleet wreck would allow for a comparative study impossible with a single ship. By examining multiple vessels from the same convoy, we could see if they were all built to the same standard, if they came from the same shipyard, and how they were organized for the journey. This would tell us if the Romans had a standardized, industrial approach to their most important shipping route, or if it was a more haphazard, private enterprise. The discovery would move beyond the story of one ship's final voyage to illuminate the staggering scale and hidden fragility of the system that powered an empire. What would the personal effects of the sailors on such a doomed mission tell us about the men who crewed these floating lifelines? Their final moments are frozen in the deep, waiting to be found. The real treasure of these sunken ships has nothing to do with gold coins or glittering jewels. It is the preservation of the ordinary. In certain areas of the seabed where oxygen is completely absent, a miracle occurs. Wood does not rot, rope remains strong, and even food can survive, sealed in a timeless state. Imagine a Roman sailor's leather sandal, its strap still intact, resting next to a wooden bowl that once held his last meal. These are the finds that truly connect us to the past. They are not grand monuments, but whispers of daily existence. A single basket, perfectly preserved, might still hold the very fish bones a crew member tossed aside 2,000 years ago. This level of preservation transforms a ship from a mere wreck into a ghostly snapshot of a living, breathing community. The most exciting discoveries are often the most personal. A wax tablet, its wooden leaves bound together, could contain a ship's manifest, a personal letter, or a merchant's accounting. If the wax has survived, we could literally read the words they wrote, seeing the very strokes of their stylist. This is not just data, it is a direct conversation across the centuries. The ship's equipment itself tells a profound story. A wooden pulley block, carved from a single piece of timber, speaks to the ingenuity of their sailing technology. A surgeon's kit, with its bronze scalpels and probes, reveals the medical care available on a long voyage. Each of these objects, from the mundane to the mechanical, pieces together the reality of life at sea. What does it mean to hold a tool that a Roman carpenter used to repair the very deck you are standing on? These artifacts are not for museum display cases alone. They are the raw materials of history, allowing us to reconstruct not just the ship, but the souls who sailed her. The ultimate find would be a story written not in ink, but in the things they left behind. A shipwreck with its cargo still in place is an archaeologist's ultimate dream. Most sites are scattered by currents or looted over centuries, but an undisturbed wreck is a moment perfectly frozen. The arrangement of the cargo holds the story. When amphorae are found still stacked in the hold, exactly as the dockworkers left them, we can read that ship's journey like a map. Each type of amphora had a distinctive shape, almost like a regional accent for pottery. A tall, slender amphora from the Italian coast likely held wine. A more rotund one from southern Spain was designed for olive oil. A small, sturdy container from North Africa might have carried that precious, pungent garum. Finding these jars still in their original stacks tells us not just what was being traded, but the sequence of the voyage. A ship might have loaded Spanish oil first, placing it deep in the hold, then picked up Italian wine at its next port, stacking those amphorae on top. The very order of the cargo reveals its ports of call, painting a detailed picture of a specific merchant's route across the ancient world. But the real magic begins when we look beyond the amphorae. Some ships carried cargoes that speak to the grander ambitions of Rome. Imagine discovering a wreck whose hold is filled not with jars, but with massive, raw blocks of white marble. Each block would be a piece of an unfinished temple or a wealthy patron's villa, telling a story of monumental construction and the immense cost of moving stone across the sea. Other ships were essentially floating warehouses for luxury goods. A vessel could be packed with hundreds of delicate glass vessels, blown in the workshops of Syria or Alexandria, each one carefully nestled in straw. Finding them intact would show us the incredible skill of Roman packers and the vast network supplying fine goods to the empire's elite. Then there are the cargoes that reveal a darker side of Roman life. Historical records tell of ships carrying exotic animals from Africa for the gladiatorial games. The discovery of a wreck with built-in cages and the skeletal remains of creatures like lions or bears would be chilling. It would provide direct, physical evidence of the long and brutal journey these animals endured, all for a few moments of spectacle in the arena. Each type of undisturbed cargo, from the everyday to the extraordinary, opens a different window. A stack of wine amphorae tells us about dinner parties and commerce. A hold full of marble whispers of soaring architecture and imperial power, and the ghost of a caged animal speaks to the spectacle and cruelty that entertain the masses. What other untold stories are locked in the cargo holds of these sunken ships, just waiting for the silt to be brushed away? Finding a complete Roman ship is like unearthing a lost engineering manual. The details of their construction reveal a level of sophistication that textbooks alone could never provide. Consider the mortise and tenon joint, the fundamental secret to their maritime success. This was not a ship held together with simple nails. Instead, Roman shipwrights carved hundreds of small, rectangular projections, the tenons, on the edges of their planks. These tenons would then be slotted into perfectly matching holes, the mortises, cut into the edges of adjacent planks. The entire hull was essentially a massive, three-dimensional puzzle, locked together with tight-fitting wooden joints. This method created an incredibly strong and flexible frame, a vessel that could twist and bend with the punishing waves of the Mediterranean without splintering apart. It was a time-consuming and expensive process, requiring immense skill, but it produced ships that were true marvels of engineering. The shape of the hull itself tells a clear story of the ship's purpose. A warship, a swift Liburnian galley built for speed and ramming, had a long, narrow, and lightweight hull. It cut through the water like a blade, its construction optimized for rapid maneuvers in battle. In stark contrast, a merchant vessel, a workhorse of the empire's economy, was built for capacity and stability. Its hull was wide, round, and deep, a floating barrel designed to carry the maximum amount of cargo. It was slow and cumbersome, but it was the true backbone of Roman trade. By comparing wrecks from different centuries, we can even trace the evolution of their naval architecture. Early Roman ships show a clear influence from Greek and Phoenician designs, but over time, their methods became distinctly Roman, refined through centuries of trial and error across the vast empire. Each newly discovered hull is another page in this ongoing story of innovation, a direct look at the engineering prowess that allowed a single city to dominate the known world. What other secrets of ancient engineering are still hidden, waiting for a shipwreck to reveal them? Beneath the silent cargo and sturdy timbers lie the true ghosts of these voyages, the people whose lives were cut short. We can reconstruct their world not from grand historical accounts, but from the small, intimate possessions they left behind. A personal seal, carved from bone or stone and worn on a cord, is more than just an object. It is a person's identity, pressed into wax to authorize a document or seal a personal letter. Finding one with a name etched into its surface is like hearing a whisper of introduction from across the millennia. It tells us that a specific individual with a name and a responsibility was on that ship. In the quiet hours between watches, sailors sought simple distractions. A collection of gaming pieces, perhaps simple carved stones or polished bone tokens, found scattered near what was once the crew's quarters, speaks volumes. It paints a picture of men huddled together, rolling dice on a makeshift board, their laughter and groans of defeat echoing across a deck that is now silent. These were not just faceless crewmen, they were people who played games, who gambled, who sought companionship during long, monotonous journeys. Their culinary habits are preserved in the most basic ways. A simple clay cooking pot, blackened by soot from a small galley fire, might still contain the residue of their last meal. Analysis of that residue can reveal a surprisingly diverse diet, from Mediterranean grains and legumes to fish caught along the way. It shows the practical reality of feeding a crew at sea, a universal challenge that connects their experience directly to our own. The most poignant discoveries, however, come from the skeletal remains themselves. Forensic archaeology can read these bones like a biography. The wear and tear on a skeleton reveals a life of hard labor, powerful shoulder muscles from hauling ropes, arthritic knees from years of balancing on moving decks, and healed fractures from dangerous work tell a story of resilience and physical hardship. Isotope analysis of the teeth can even reveal where a person grew up, showing us that the crew was often a melting pot of the empire, with men from North Africa, the Middle East, and Europe all sailing together. This evidence shatters the idea of a monolithic Roman identity. It reveals the vibrant, diverse human tapestry that was woven across the Mediterranean. What about the others on board, those who were not there by choice? The discovery of manacles, simple iron shackles, in the hold of a wreck tells a darker, more brutal story. This is the evidence of the slave trade, a foundational element of the Roman economy. It forces us to confront the human cargo, individuals torn from their homes and transported across the sea to be sold. Their story is one of tragedy, written not in words, but in cold, unforgiving iron. Each of these artifacts, from a gaming piece to a set of shackles, builds a deeply human narrative. They transform a shipwreck from an archaeological site into a memorial, a final resting place that speaks of daily life, shared moments, and ultimate loss. What would we learn if we could know just one of their names, and hear the story their bones and belongings are struggling to tell? The silent, dark world these ships inhabit is no longer a barrier to understanding. Once a wreck is located, a second technological revolution begins, one focused not on discovery, but on digital preservation. This process is called photogrammetry and is transforming how we interact with these fragile sites. Think of it as creating a perfect three-dimensional photograph of the entire shipwreck. Here is how it works. A remotely operated vehicle, or ROV, is sent down to the site. It does not touch anything. Instead, it flies over the wreck in a meticulously planned, overlapping grid pattern, capturing tens of thousands of high-resolution photographs from every conceivable angle. Powerful computers then analyze these images, identifying common points in each photograph. By comparing the subtle shifts in perspective between each shot, the software calculates the exact three-dimensional position of every single point it sees. It stitches this colossal dataset together into a single, hyper-detailed model. The result is not a simple image. It is a navigable, measurable, digital twin of the wreck site. You can zoom in to see the tool marks on a single amphora handle. You can virtually swim around the entire hull to understand its structure from bow to stern. You can even peel back layers of sediment digitally to see what lies beneath, all without ever laying a hand on the actual artifact. This is a fundamental shift in archaeology. The primary goal is now in situ preservation, leaving the wreck exactly where it is, sleeping safely in its protective environment. The photogrammetric model becomes the permanent record, a backup copy of history that will never decay. It allows researchers from across the globe to study the same site simultaneously, taking measurements and conducting analyses that would be impossible on the seafloor. But the impact goes far beyond academic circles. These breathtaking models can be used to create immersive virtual reality experiences, letting anyone with a headset walk the deck of a Roman merchant ship for the first time in 10 years. They become the centerpiece of museum exhibits, offering a window into the deep that was once reserved for a handful of specialized divers. This technology does more than just record a shipwreck. It resurrects it for the world, ensuring its story is not lost to the sea or confined to a scientific paper. What would it feel like to stand on that virtual deck, surrounded by the ghostly cargo of an ancient world? This shadowy race against time has a dangerous competitor, the modern-day treasure hunter. While archaeologists meticulously map a site, looters are often working just a few miles away, armed with dredges and greed. They are not interested in stories or context. Their target is a quick profit, and the damage they leave behind is absolute. A looter will tear apart a 2,000-year-old shipwreck with a powerful propeller, blasting away the sediment to grab any visible artifact. In their frantic search for gold coins or intact statues, they shatter amphorae, scatter timbers, and obliterate the precise layout that tells us everything. It is the difference between a crime scene investigator carefully documenting evidence and a thief ransacking a room. The information they destroy is gone forever. We might recover a beautiful bronze statue from the black market, but we will never know if it was stored near the captain's quarters or buried deep in the hold with the common goods. That single piece of contextual data could have revealed whether it was a personal belonging, a gift for a governor, or part of a commercial shipment. The looters take that story away, leaving behind a beautiful but silent object. This is not a victimless crime. Every time a site is looted, a unique chapter of our collective human history is ripped out and sold for parts. The most famous case is perhaps the wreck of the HMS Victory, a British warship from the 1700s. Commercial salvagers located the site and recovered a treasure trove of bronze cannons, but their methods were so aggressive that they scattered the wreck across the seafloor, making it impossible for archaeologists to ever understand the ship's final moments or the lives of the sailors on board. The cannons were saved, but the history was lost. To combat this, authorities and archaeologists are fighting back on multiple fronts. Patrol boats from nations like Italy and Greece constantly monitor their historic waters, using the same sonar technology to spot unauthorized ships hovering over known wreck sites. Underwater drones are deployed as silent sentinels, watching over these vulnerable time capsules and alerting authorities the moment intruders arrive. There is also a concerted effort to track the artifacts themselves. International databases now catalog known stolen items, making it harder for looted goods to surface in auction houses or private collection. The goal is to cut off the financial incentive, to make it too risky and too difficult to profit from our shared past. This is a global battle for memory, a struggle to ensure that the whispers from the deep are heard by everyone, not just sold to the highest bidder. What legacy are we protecting for future generations when we choose to listen to the story, rather than simply pocket the treasure? A single shipwreck can shatter the grand narratives we thought we understood. History books often speak in broad strokes about empires and economies, but a discovery on the seabed provides undeniable, tangible proof that can upend everything. Take the long-held belief about Roman trade. For generations, scholars argued that direct trade between Rome and India was minimal, a trickle of goods filtered through countless middlemen. Then, wreck sites off the coast of India began to yield Roman coins, pottery, and even wine amphorae. These were not just scattered finds. A ship discovered with its hold full of Roman goods lying in Indian waters forces an immediate and dramatic revision of history. It proves that Roman merchants undertook the incredibly dangerous, months-long journey across the open ocean, bypassing intermediaries to trade directly for priceless Indian spices, gems, and textile. This single wreck does not just add a footnote. It rewrites an entire chapter on the scale and bravery of Roman commerce, revealing an economic reach far more ambitious than we ever imagined. The same principle applies to the fog of ancient warfare. Our knowledge of the Punic Wars, the epic struggle between Rome and Carthage, comes largely from later Roman historians, whose accounts are often biased by victory. What if their tales of glorious naval battles and brilliant tactics were exaggerations? A sunken warship from that era, lying on the battlefield floor, is an unbiased witness. The construction of its hull, the design of its bronze ram, and even the way it rests on the seabed can tell a forensic story of the conflict. If we found a cluster of Roman warships from a single, famous battle, their positions could reveal the actual formation used, confirming or refuting the historical account. The evidence on the ships themselves would be even more telling. Were they hastily built with green timber, suggesting a desperate rush to build a fleet, or were they masterfully crafted, indicating a sophisticated, long-established naval tradition? The wreckage holds the answer, cutting through 2,000 years of propaganda to show us the true strength of the Roman Navy at its most critical hour. Perhaps the most profound revisions come from understanding collapse. The crisis of the 3rd century was a period when the Roman Empire nearly tore itself apart, racked by civil war, economic chaos, and invasion. The historical record describes a collapse in long-distance trade and a fragmentation of the economy. But is that the whole story? A merchant ship that sank during this exact period is a time capsule from the brink. Its cargo provides a raw, unedited snapshot of the empire's economic health in that precise moment. A ship carrying only local goods, with no long-distance luxuries, would confirm the narrative of a shattered trade network. But what if we found a vessel in that chaotic era still laden with goods from one end of the empire to the other? That single discovery would force historians to reconsider the entire crisis. It would suggest that despite the political turmoil and the constant threat of barbarian incursions, the resilient commercial arteries of the empire still pulsed with life, a testament to the enduring power of trade over politics. The artifacts become data points in the grandest of experiments, proving that the real story of history is not always written on parchment, but is often buried in the mud, waiting to be found. This hunt for history is no longer confined to a handful of scientists on a research vessel. A powerful new wave of public engagement is surging, pulling these ancient stories from the depths and into the light for everyone to share. Online platforms are now opening virtual doors to the seafloor, inviting ordinary people to become digital explorers. Imagine a website where you can scan through real sonar maps, the same ones used by archaeologists, looking for the telltale shapes of a buried hull or the linear pattern of an amphora pile. With thousands of eyes scrutinizing every pixel, the chances of a breakthrough discovery skyrocket. This is citizen science in action, a global team of volunteers helping to sift through mountains of data, turning a solitary scientific pursuit into a shared human adventure. The excitement generated by these discoveries is then amplified by breathtaking documentary films and immersive museum exhibitions. These are not dry academic reports. They are cinematic journeys that transport you to the wreck site, letting you hover alongside the robotic vehicles as they uncover a 2,000-year-old artifact. The public's fascination, in turn, fuels the mission itself. Ticket sales, streaming views, and exhibition donations directly translate into funding for the next expedition, creating a virtuous cycle of discovery and storytelling. This is about more than just money or data processing. It is about fostering a profound sense of shared ownership. When you help identify a potential wreck on a sonar scan, or when you stand in a museum gazing at a perfectly preserved Roman sandal recovered from the deep, that history becomes your history. These are not just relics belonging to a nation or a university. They are a testament to human ingenuity and endurance, a part of our collective global heritage. This growing connection ensures that these sunken ships are valued not for the treasure they might hold, but for the irreplaceable stories they tell, guaranteeing their protection and study for generations to come. What incredible discovery might be made tomorrow, not by a machine, but by someone just like you looking at a screen from their own home? These silent wrecks are far more than forgotten ships. Over centuries, they have transformed into thriving artificial reefs, creating entire ecosystems in the barren deep. The same wooden hull that once carried Roman goods now provides a complex structure for life to take hold. Corals and sponges anchor themselves to the ancient timbers, their delicate forms a stark contrast to the rugged wood. Fish swarm around amphory stacks, using the jars as shelter from predators. This creates a living paradox, a monument to human loss that has become a cradle for new life. Scientists study this colonization with intense interest. The types of organisms clinging to the wreck, from specific barnacles to rare corals, act as a biological clock. They tell researchers how long the structure has been on the seabed and reveal changes in water temperature and salinity over the decades. The ship itself becomes a living document of the ocean's health, its resident community a snapshot of an evolving marine environment, but the scientific goldmine extends deep into the sediment itself. The mud and silt that encase the wreck are a frozen archive. Within these layers, scientists find ancient pollen grains and tiny seeds that were trapped on the day the ship sank. By analyzing these microscopic time travelers, researchers can reconstruct the exact climate and landscape of the surrounding coastline 2,000 years ago. Was the region a lush, forested area indicated by oak and pine pollen, or was it a dry, agricultural zone shown by the pollen of olive trees and cultivated grains? This evidence paints a vivid picture of the world the sailors left behind, telling us not just about the ship, but about the very air they breathed and the lands they sailed past. A shipwreck becomes a two-part time capsule, preserving human history in its cargo and natural history in the very mud that entombs it. What other secrets of our planet's past are hidden within the layers of silt guarding these sunken worlds? A major expedition begins not at sea, but in a labyrinth of spreadsheets and supply lists, a full year before the ship ever leaves port. The vessel itself is the first critical puzzle piece. This is not a luxury cruise liner, but a specialized research ship, a floating laboratory equipped with dynamic positioning systems that can hold the ship perfectly steady over a wreck site against wind and current. Finding and securing such a vessel is a logistical triumph, often requiring booking it years in advance from a global fleet. Once the ship is secured, the real packing begins. Every single piece of equipment, from the massive AUVs and their launch cranes to the delicate sensors for the ROV, must be carefully crated and transported to the dock. Spare parts for every critical system are essential, because a single failed cable connector in the middle of the Mediterranean can halt an entire multi-million-dollar mission. You cannot simply run to a store for a replacement. The crew is a blend of distinct expertise. There are the ship's own sailors, masters of navigation and seamanship. Then come the engineers and technicians, the people who understand the complex guts of the robotic vehicles. And finally, there are the archaeologists and scientists who direct the search and interpret every new piece of data. These groups must learn to speak a common language, united by a single goal under immense pressure. Life at sea during the search is a cycle of relentless 24-hour operation. The ship does not sleep. While one team pilots an UV on its 12-hour mapping mission, another is analyzing the sonar data already collected, and a third is catching a few hours of rest before their shift begins. The mess hall becomes a hub of constant coffee and conversation, where a sailor might sit next to a geophysicist, both discussing the challenges of the day. The ocean itself is a fickle partner. A sudden storm can force a complete shutdown of operations, with all equipment secured and the ship forced to ride out the swells, burning precious fuel and losing irreplaceable time. Even on calm days, the salt water is a constant enemy, corroding metal and seeping into electrical connections. Technicians perform daily rituals of cleaning and maintenance, carefully rinsing the robotic vehicles with fresh water after each dive to prolong their short lives in a hostile environment. Every decision is weighed against the clock and the budget. Do you spend another day mapping a promising anomaly or move on to the next grid square? The tension is palpable, a mixture of scientific excitement and the grinding pressure of logistics. What will you prioritize if you had only 1 week left at sea and a dozen potential targets still to investigate? Right now, a ship called the RV Hercules is cutting through the waves of the Aegean Sea. Its mission focused on one of the last great frontiers of underwater archaeology. This is not a random survey, it is a targeted hunt, led by an international team from the Greek Effort of Underwater Antiquities and the American Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. Their goal is to find Roman wrecks lying in depths beyond 1,000 feet, in areas once thought unreachable. The historical clues that brought them here are etched into ancient texts and carved on stone. The Aegean was a crossroads, a bustling network of routes connecting the Black Sea's grain to the Aegean's islands and onward to Rome. Major ports like Thessaloniki and ancient city-states along the coast of Asia Minor were hubs of this traffic. But the geography here is treacherous. The same deep trenches that provided direct routes for ancient sailors also hid sudden, violent storms capable of dragging a laden ship down into the abyss. The team is focusing on a specific underwater canyon system, a deep sea chasm that acted as a natural funnel for maritime traffic. They are betting that any ship caught in a storm while navigating this corridor would have been pulled straight down the steep walls, coming to rest in the silent, cold depths below. The technology deployed is at the cutting edge. The Hercules is using an autonomous underwater vehicle equipped with advanced synthetic aperture sonar. This system is so precise it can distinguish between a natural rock and a man-made amphora from a distance of several hundred meters, even if the jar is partially buried. Every potential target identified by the AUV is then investigated by a new generation of hybrid ROV. This vehicle can switch from being tethered for high-power, real-time video to operating on a thin fiber optic link for greater maneuverability around delicate wreck site. The partners hope to achieve more than just a discovery this season. They aim to prove a new methodology for exploring the deep sea, a non-invasive protocol that sets a global standard. Finding a Roman wreck in these depths would open an entirely new chapter. A ship that sank in the cold, oxygen-poor water of the deep Aegean could be preserved with a level of detail that shocks the world. We might find intact wooden hulls, sealed cargo holds, and organic materials like cloth, rope, and food, all perfectly frozen in time. This is the promise that drives them forward through the long days and nights at sea. What incredible snapshot of the ancient world is waiting for them in the dark, just beyond the reach of their lights. The search of the deep is a gamble with no guaranteed reward. An expedition can spend months and millions scanning the seabed only to find barren sand and rock. But even a blank map holds immense scientific value. Every square mile of seafloor that is meticulously surveyed and cleared of potential targets narrows the search for the next team. This process of elimination is not failure, it is a crucial step in the scientific method. It refines our understanding of ancient shipping lanes, telling us where the Romans did not sail, which in turn helps us better predict where they did. The advanced sonar data collected does not just look for shipwrecks. It creates a high-resolution baseline of the marine environment, a detailed snapshot of underwater canyons, sediment flows, and geological features that oceanographers and climate scientists can use for decades. Each test of a new robotic vehicle or sensor in the punishing real-world conditions of the open sea is a trial by fire. It pushes the technology to its limits, revealing weaknesses and inspiring improvements that will make the next hunt more efficient and effective. A mission that returns without a single amphora may have perfected a new mapping technique or discovered a previously unknown deep-sea current. These are the silent victories that build the foundation for a future breakthrough. The true success of any expedition lies not just in what it finds, but in the permanent legacy of data it leaves behind. How many past failures were necessary to pave the way for the single discovery that changed everything? The next decade promises to transform this careful search into a flood of discovery. Artificial intelligence is poised to become archaeology's most powerful partner, capable of scanning thousands of square miles of sonar data in minutes. Instead of human eyes slowly searching for anomalies, intelligent algorithms will be trained to recognize the unique signatures of a Roman wreck, distinguishing a buried hull from a natural rock formation with stunning accuracy. This is not about replacing scientists, but about empowering them to sift through an ocean of information to find the precise needles in the haystack. The robotic explorers themselves are also evolving. The next generation of autonomous vehicles will be equipped with artificial intelligence that allows them to make decisions on the fly. And a UV mapping the seafloor could identify a promising target, and without waiting for a command from the surface, automatically switch its sensor suite to conduct a closer, more detailed inspection. These robots will work in intelligent swarms, communicating with each other to blanket a massive search area in a fraction of the time it takes a single vehicle. The final frontier, the abyssal plain, will also open up. New deep-sea submersibles with transparent ceramic hulls are being designed to withstand the crushing pressures of the Haddle Zone, depths exceeding 20,000 feet. This capability would allow us to follow ancient ships all the way to their final resting places in the deepest trenches, areas we have never been able to properly survey. Imagine finding a Roman vessel perfectly preserved in the eternal cold and darkness of the deep abyss, its wooden structure and organic cargo intact because no shipworm or bacteria can survive there. This convergence of technologies signals a coming golden age. We are moving from finding single, scattered wrecks to potentially mapping entire ancient maritime landscapes. We could digitally reconstruct the busiest Roman shipping lane, understanding it as a dynamic, living system. What if we could one day pull back a virtual curtain on the Mediterranean seafloor and see every single ship that ever sank, watching the flow of history across the centuries in a single, breathtaking view? The silent stories of thousands of ships are waiting, and for the first time, we are building the ears to hear them all. The silent ocean floor holds more secrets than all the world's museums combined. This new era of exploration offers our first real chance to listen. We stand on the brink of a historical renaissance, where the ghostly outlines of Roman ships will illuminate the dark corners of the ancient world. These vessels are not merely wrecks, they are uncensored archives, holding the power to verify ancient texts, challenge long-held theories, and reveal the true heartbeat of Roman commerce and daily life. The goal is not to fill display cases, but to fill the gaps in our collective memory, piecing together the human story from the seafloor up. This mission carries a profound responsibility. The technology that finds these sites must also be used to protect them, ensuring they are studied for knowledge, not stripped for profit. Our underwater cultural heritage is a fragile, non-renewable resource. Once a wreck is looted, its story is shattered forever, its context lost to greed. The international cooperation driving these searches sets a vital precedent, proving that our shared past belongs to all of humanity and must be safeguarded for future generations. The expeditions launching now are just the beginning. As you watch from afar, you're part of this journey too. The discoveries made in the coming years will be shared with the world, each one a new piece of an ancient puzzle. So we leave you with this question: with this vast underwater library finally opening its doors, which forgotten mystery of the Roman world do you most hope the deep will surrender next? Follow the search and wait for the sea to speak.